Hello everybody, welcome back to the Data Obsessed Fat Man. What you're seeing on screen here is pretty much the bulk of what I've eaten today. I pinched off a couple of pieces of that roast beef there on the plate earlier, as well as eating some chocolate, but I've removed that from the screenshot you're going to see later in this video. But basically that bowl right there on the left, that's the salad that I've been eating all month. I'm actually going to have to go to the grocery store soon to buy some more veggies to replace it. I'm not going to get the same exact ones next time. On the right is my adult Lunchable with the cheese, my pickles, which were great, the spicy seaweed, the roast, my fat mustard, and the sardines. And the sardines that I left in hot sauce overnight. It was great. I'll go more into detail. Let's move forward now. Man, look at this. This is the, full calorie count of everything you saw in the previous picture there. And this is listing the top 4 items, from the most calorie heavy to the least calorie dense. So of course that salad, beside everything, it has a crap load of stuff in it. We're going to go into that in a bit as well. Not too deep. I'm just going to show you the screens later and just say a couple words about them. But yeah, that's it for the calories. What about the other macronutrients, period? Alright, protein, freaking pot roast comes out in advance. And then sardines are next, and then my pepper jack is still doing some good work. And salad is still present. Did not expect that. Okay, and next up here are the carbs. I expected the salad to be at the top. That's because vegetables have carbs in them, and there are so many different vegetables in that salad. What was a surprise to me was the lemon pop, but then I forgot it has the allulose in it, and your body really doesn't do anything with it. It might as well be a 0 net carbs, so yeah, but it's still on the list. But not so bad so far. Okay, and here is the fat. Once again, I expected the salad to be at the top because I made an avocado-based dressing that uses, I believe, olive oil in it, so nothing was going to beat it. What was surprising was I expected both cheeses to be on here, but they're not. Instead, my fat mustard made it on here. I can't wait to talk about that later. Now, before we get into the meat of things, these 2 items here, that was the, roast that I snacked on earlier before having my real meal today. So you see it's almost double the calories of what I actually have on that plate there, and that's about true for what I ate earlier. As for the chocolate, yeah, I had 3 pieces of that as well. So we're leaving those off. Everything else is just going to ignore these 2 pieces. And so this is what it all looks like together. So this is not a bad setup here. This is before adding the salad on, by the way. So that one little plate there is just 500 calories. You would guess it would be a bit more or less depending upon how you look at things. If you didn't know that the fat was being placed in the mustard, you would definitely think it was a lot less. And if you knew about the fat in the mustard, you would probably guess it would be a lot more. But there's a nice little balance here that I like. Now what surprised me was I forgot how many calories the salad actually had at first, but it pretty much equals the rest of that meal. So it pretty much doubles the calorie intake for the day to just a little over 1,000 calories, which is not bad. And all the macronutrients you see there, the protein, the carbs, the fat, those are at good levels, especially since most of those are pretty good carbs that have lots of fiber attached to them naturally, instead of being complex carbs with fiber added to them. Okay, now I weigh most of my food where it makes sense to do so. Some things I go easy on, like if a slice of cheese says it's X amount of calories, I believe it. But for the other things, I go by some of the more generic markings within Chronometer, or I just try to go based upon what the label says, but I actually weigh to make sure it is what it says that it is. Even then, as you see here on the screen, that may not necessarily be true. Based upon FDA regulations, companies are allowed to be 20% off on their calorie markers as well as their micronutrient markers on nutrition labels. Some of that is due to the volatility and inconsistency in the food making, and some of it is just straight up lying. Now that 20% margin of error, that can go either way. So it can be 20% more than what you see on the label or 20% less. So they work to try to make their food to look a bit more favorable. At least many of them do. In some tests online on YouTube, just look up, calorimeter testing, CALORIMETER, and people actually, burn the food with calorimeters using science and math to figure out how many calories their food really contain. You need to send it to a lab that does more than that to figure out the macronutrient buildup, but it was an eye-opener when I found out about this. So I don't take all the calorie stuff completely to heart. It's also why I don't completely just trust calories in, calories out. But this is the data that we have made available to us. And so the best you can do is just try to be accurate within reason without trying to be too crazy about it. and we'll go into the weighing here. Okay, so what you'll be seeing here moving forward is just me weighing the food that you saw in the picture. I zero everything out after adding an item to the plate, that way I don't have to actually move the plate off. As you see here, these are some nice numbers. Yep, even measured the mustard because it has fat in it, otherwise mustard has no calories. I made it have calories, so it could feel more filling, so it's easier to actually position it onto food. Yeah, so it's not so bad. This is the numbers for the entire bottle. But as you see here, that seaweed's supposed to be 5 grams, it's only 3. I still count it as 5. And that's all the cheese there. And it doesn't exactly match what the packaging says, but it was pretty close. I didn't weigh the sardines because the can is accurate. I don't really weigh the salad, I just go based off of the grand recipe and just divide it equally. But I zeroed out the container anyway and weighed it just to see what it would be. So 676 grams. Let's see how that compares against the actual individualized recipe sizes. Okay, so first we just show up all the ingredients in it. This is for the entire gigantic bowl of it they had to make it mix up. And I ended up making 11 bowls. Not exactly evenly, it was really 10 with like the last one being 80%. But you see each bowl is guessing it's 873 grams, it's really 676. So I'm worse than the manufacturers on that one. I didn't even try hard. But that's the complete meal. And this is what it looks like as I eat it together. This one's for the beef, that one's for the sardines. So once again, thanks for tuning in. That was the information about the calories and why it's important to actually count and look at what you're doing. But like I said before, I like to overestimate what I'm doing a bit. And I guess, the manufacturers are doing that as well. But it'd be nice if they gave us real information and said it can be up. It's really this in most cases, but it could be up to here depending. I guess that'd be a little confusing or annoying. But myself, I'm fine with overestimating because at least I know everything that's going into my food, at least when I make it myself. But if you got any questions, anything you want to talk about, feel free to leave a comment. Thank you all for watching, and God bless you all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.